Yes, lads, hope you're all doing super well. In today's video, we're going to be looking at the top 10 under 23 stacks that are available for this season. Stacks are on the rise on Sorare as far as popularity and people adopting them, within their strategies. So I thought, why don't I apply that to the under 23 category? Check who should be up there next season as far as the best teams to stack. When I talk about stacking, I like to separate attacking stacks from defensive stacks. So what do I mean by that? A defensive stack on Sorare is basically when you use one goalkeeper, a defender, or two defenders from the same team. They all then benefit from the clean sheet bonus if the team does get the clean sheet, of course. With an attacking stack, you're either looking at two midfielders and a forward, or two forwards and a midfielder. You could obviously use one midfielder, one forward if you want. Anyway, enough intro from me. Leave a like if you enjoy the video, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and let's get into things. So I'm going to be using the concept lineup builder on Sorare data just to set out our sort of stack. Starting off with probably the best stack I think on paper as far as under 23 attacking stacks go next season. And that is probably the Real Madrid attacking stack, right? It's going to probably consist of, in its best form, Vinny. We're going to do this all in limited. Jude and Rodrigo. For me, that is probably the best three as far as decisive capabilities. I think, Rodrigo and Vinny are going to be, incredible next season together. I know that there's no number 9, so maybe the formation changes. We're looking at maybe more of a diamond, a 4-1-2-2, with Vinny and Rodrigo as like inside forwards. There's obviously rumours of the Mbappe coming in, but, who knows what's going to happen there. But for now, I think this is the best Real Madrid sort of attacking stack there is. Of course, you could switch things up. You could probably take out Bellingham and you could go with Camavinga, for example, which, I'm not against. I think he's less decisive capable in that Real Madrid team as far as positionally. Bellingham's going to be playing a little bit further forward for me. You could also throw in Tchouaméni to that stack as well. So, there is rumours again that he might move on loan to Bayern, but regardless, I do think in his best form, it's definitely a Bellingham, Rodrigo, Vinny combination. Floor price right now is £405 for the limited. I mean, it's not cheap. You're getting, in Vinny, one of the, if not the best sort of left wingers in the world, up there with Mbappe. Especially under 23. Obviously, Mbappe isn't under 23 anymore. So for me, this is going to be like the creme de la creme of stacks on paper right now. Rodrigo's the only not iffy one, but it's questionable. We don't know his role. I rate him I think he's an exceptional player. I just want to know exactly what sort of role he's going to get basically with Real next season. But I have a good feeling that it's going to be, a vital one. But for me, this is sort of the best three as far as, Real Madrid under 23 stacks go. Next up is Feyenoord's attacking stack. So this, for me, consists of Mats Wiefer as a midfielder, Igor Paxiao, however we're going to pronounce it, and Santiago Jimenez. So one midfielder, two forwards, same as the Real Madrid stack. Wiefer is a bit more defensive as midfielders go, but he's going to have a great AA game, I think, next season, and still decisive capable in that final team. I think these three are the most nailed on as far as, depth goes. They do have other options. Quinton Timber's one of them. As a midfielder, they have a couple of defenders, obviously Gertrude, Hartman, but this is an attacking stack. And yeah, I wouldn't include a defender in here. I just don't think the correlation is there as much. Don't get me wrong, if one of the defenders on a team, for example, let's say Hartman, if we throw Hartman into here, and just for argument's sake, Hartman is on, set pieces, then, there's a good chance that, Hartman taking set pieces is eventually going to find maybe a Wiefer, Paxiao, or Jimenez, in the box from a corner, free kick, whatever. So there is correlation there. But for the most part, I think you don't really need that. I don't think having a defender from Feyenoord here really makes any... I don't think it, makes the stack any better. If anything, I think it makes it worse. I just don't think the correlation's there as much as, bunching up the forward sort of players together and then separating the defenders and goalkeepers. So yeah, I'm not anti full stack, but I'm way more pro, forward stack and defensive stack, separated. But anyway, I think this is a decent stack. It's cheap enough, £130 floor price right now. I think it'll do well. For sure, will it do as well as the Real Madrid stack? Who knows? But I do think this could be an exceptional sort of forward attacking stack for next season. Next up is Benfica. Again, an attacking stack of Cochu, Goncalo Ramos, if he stays, and the extra position. I'm leaving that open for now because there is a few candidates. you could put Florentino Luis in there, but again, I don't think the correlation is there as far as like, when we're talking about attacking stacks, we want our players, we want Coach to assist Ramos or vice versa. We want that synergy, that correlation for the potential of getting those double decisive actions. You don't need them, but it does help a lot. If somebody's running a Benfica stack of Coach and Ramos, and the one player assists the other player, then you've only needed one decisive to actually happen for both of them to get decisive, if that makes any sense. Where like, let's say if I have Matt Wiefer in here that plays for Feyenoord now, Coach who's in a Feyenoord kit, I know that's confusing, he's now playing for Benfica. But if I had Matt Wiefer here who plays for Feyenoord right now and Goncalo Ramos as my forward, well, there's no correlation. If Matt Wiefer scores 3 or assists 3 goals, it's in a completely separate game to Ramos. So Wiefer could never assist Ramos, if that makes sense. Where Coach now that he's moved from Feyenoord to Benfica, could assist Ramos or vice versa. So I think that correlation point is a big part of why stacking is optimal. But I do think people have taken it overboard and think just because they're all playing on the same team that there is just going to be correlation. But for a lot of the time that there isn't that much correlation, even with attacking players a lot of the time. But at least they are on the same team and they're in the same sort of positions to where chances are that they have a better chance than not being on the same team, But anyway, for this extra position, João Neres, who isn't actually on Sorare yet, but I'm sure he'll get a card next season. As long as Benfica are licensed. But this is him. I know there's no picture or anything. But as you can see, he ended the season really, really well as far as scores were concerned. They do have another couple of options as far as under 23s. Tengsdart and Schrudlup. I don't know how you really pronounce them. But, really sort of young Scandinavian forwards that came in last season. Haven't really kicked on yet. But they do have a lot of potential. So there's that Benfica sort of forward stack as a 3 is sort of in the works. It's not like polished yet, but definitely Kochu and Ramos, as long as Ramos stays, I think could be a decent little stack. Next on our list is Lyon, and there's only kind of 3 players here that I'm interested in, and that is Kakare, Bradley Barcola, and Ryan Cherki as a 3. Obviously, they all need to stay at Lyon for this to work. But I think there's enough synergy here to where, you could be sort of taking advantage of those sort of double, triple decisives and well, not triple, you can't have 3 decisive. You can't have 3 players share a decisive, but you know what I'm saying. There's going to be, if Lyon are scoring goals or assisting goals or whatever, there's definitely going to be, one of these 3 are probably involved. I know Lacazette scores a lot of their goals as their number 9, but, assisting Cherki, Barcola and Kakare, there's definitely a big opportunity there for a lot of synergy. And £151, I know there's transfer risk in Barcola and even Cherki as well. But I do think if they all stay together, this could be a hell of a attacking stack for next season. Next up is Genk's attacking stack of Federa, who we've spoken about already on the channel. El Canoes, who I'm actually not that big of a fan of, but he seems to be pretty nailed in this Genk side. And Tolu, I'm not going to even pronounce the second name because I'll probably butcher it. But this is probably the cheapest stack we're going to find, on the video today. £115 floor price. Federa started the season off really, really well since moving from Zulte last season to Genk. And yeah, I mean, is it gonna yield you as much as the Real Madrid stack is going to? Probably not. But as far as value for money, there could be a question here as far as this could do some damage. I don't love the El Canu situation. I think he's a really talented player. If you watch him play in real life, he passes the eye test, but it doesn't really equate to Sorare scores right now. That might change this season. Hopefully, it does for the sake of this stack. But I do think this stack could do some damage for sure in the under 23 category next season. Next up is Bayer Leverkusen's attacking stack, and this one actually excites me quite a lot. Victor Boniface, who's just recently moved from Galois in the Belgium League, Florian Wirtz, and then you have a choice of basically Amin Adli or Adam Holzek. I think I'm going to go Adli personally. I think I just like his AA game a little bit better, and he is very decisive capable, as is Adam as well. But £178, Wirtz being very expensive here compared to the other 2. I think this could be a very sneaky stack under Xavi Alonso next season. Boniface is an absolute beast, can score goals, he's fast, he's physical, he's going to scare some defenders in that league. And yeah, with the likes of Wirtz and Adli sort of supplying you, I think there's going to be some synergy there. And yeah, it doesn't seem, crazily overpriced. Vert is a very expensive, Sorare card. So he's more than half the price of this sort of stack, I guess. But I do think there's definitely merit in this being a really interesting stack for next season. Next up is Southampton's full stack. So I'm not a big fan of full stacks. I have ran them in the past, but in under 23s, it just doesn't really work. But Southampton this season, although their season hasn't started yet, so we're yet to know exactly what the starting 11 is. Southampton do have the potential to have a really interesting full under 23 stack, right? So that would consist of Gavin Bazunu in goals. Tino Livramento would basically have to stay, or Almel Bella-Kotchap. I actually own an Almel Bella-Kotchap, but we'll throw Tino Livramento in there for now, because he's probably more likely to stay, but again, it's still up in the air. Lavia looks like he's going to leave, so does Teller, and so does Sulemana. So I think Alcaraz then comes in, and so does Samuel Edozie, and then up front would be Seko Mara. This is a full under-23 stack, which you're not really going to find in the under-23 divisions on Sorare this season. I can't think of any other team that you could full stack. Don't get me wrong, I don't know if all these players are going to stay and or start, but there is a good chance that a few of them do. £168 for the whole stack doesn't seem terrible, with obviously the goalkeeper being the most expensive part of that. I'm unsure if Mara's going to be the sort of number 9 there, but he has a chance if he can start well as far as the season goes. But Edozie and Alcaraz have done well in pre-season, and Livramento's back from injury. Even though Newcastle are sniffing around him, you just don't really know what's going to go on there. So there is risk, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying go out and buy this stack and it's going to win you everything, because it's not. I don't know what's going to happen with it, but on paper right now, Southampton do have a full under 23 stack, which is rare. Like I said, I don't think there's any other teams. There might be the odd one that I'm forgetting, but as far as like popular teams that I'm confident in next season, I don't think you find this elsewhere. And don't get me wrong, you don't need to play the whole stack. You could just do the defensive side and just buy Livramento and Bazunu if you fancy Southampton to do well defensively, or if you fancy him to do well in attack, then you go with Edozie, Mara and Alcaraz, or whatever it is. You can split it up. I'm not here to tell you what to do in that sense. I'm just showing you some ideas, but that is the only full stack of this video, so I think it's an interesting one nonetheless. Next up is Stade Rennais, or Rennais, however we're going to pronounce this. Sorry if I've butchered that, and you're French watching this, but this one's an interesting one as well. There is definitely transfer sort of rumours that could spoil this one, as far as definitely Jeremy Doku. There's Barcelona rumours, there's Man City rumours for him to replace Mahrez and stuff. So don't look at this and think, oh yeah, this is definitely going to be 3 of the under 23 players that are going to play for Stade Rennais next season, because that might not be the case. I think Enzo Lafitte just moved from Lorient to Stade Rennais, so he's not going anywhere. Doku is the questionable one here. But one midfielder, 2 forwards. I think there could be a lot of synergy between these 3. I love watching Enzo Lafitte play. I watched him for the under 21 French team this summer with Amin Gouiri, and he's an unbelievable sort of number 8. Yeah, then you're looking at Doku and Gouiri, who were exceptional for the majority of last season in different spells. Doku struggled with injury quite a bit, but Gouiri, we always know he's good for a goal or so. And it's an exciting stack. I think this could prove to be a decent stack as long as Doku stays. £130 for those 3 doesn't seem terrible, but it's still up in the air as far as what's going to go on with their futures. Next up is RB Leipzig's attacking stack, which is a really, really interesting one for me. Xavi Simons in midfield with Lois Openda, and then as the extra player, I think the Openda Xavi Simons connection, it could be a really interesting one next season in the Bundesliga. So I think that one's kind of set here. The extra players up in the air. You either go Nicolas Seiveld, who kind of plays number 6. He's a bit deeper. Or if you fancy Leipzig to steamroll a team and you think there's a lot of DAs, decisive actions, goals, assists in that game, then you could potentially go for Benjamin Sesko, who's just recently moved from Salzburg. All 3 of these players are new to Leipzig. As you can see, none of them are wearing Leipzig kits because the new cards aren't out yet. So, we haven't got these players in Leipzig kits yet. But £177 for those 3 doesn't seem terrible. On the surface of things. Is Sesko going to play up front with Openda every game and be like a reliable sort of front two for you? I don't know. I think Openda's pretty nailed. I think Xavi Simons is pretty nailed. I don't know about Sesko's situation as much as I do Openda's and Simon. So it's hard for me to really comment on that as far as, do I think he's definitely going to start? With forwards, you need to be scoring goals to start. It's as simple as that, isn't it? If you're not scoring goals and if you're not helping the team in some way, then you're just not going to play, for that team. It's just as simple as that. So, I know Sesko is capable of scoring goals. We know that, but is he going to do it in this Leipzig team? Who knows? But yeah, very interesting stack nonetheless. And last but not least is another very expensive stack. We started with a very expensive stack and we're going to end with an expensive stack, which is Manchester City's attacking stack of Erling Haaland, Julian Alvarez, and Phil Foden. Now, again, one midfielder, two forwards. Haaland is obviously nailed, but you're paying £267 floor price for that sort of luxury. Is he the best under 23 forward next season? He's obviously up there. Vinny, him. There won't be many. Haaland won't be outside the top 3 or 4. I can tell you that for a fact. Obviously, you're going to be paying a premium for that. That's just how markets work and whatever, and especially on Sorare. So it's an interesting one. I think Foden's going to have more of a more prominent role than last season, especially with Gundogan leaving, Mahrez leaving. There's definitely room now for Foden to really, really kick on in this sort of Man City team and become like a legit starter every game. I know Man City and Pep is renowned for his Pep roulette, and it's frustrating as a Sorare sort of owner of these cards because we hate uncertainty as Sorare managers. If you don't know, if you're unsure someone's not going to start, then you just don't want to risk him to play, because if you get one DMP, if one of your players doesn't play, it just messes up the whole lineup, doesn't it? And your chances of a reward are basically next to nothing. So I do take that into consideration when looking at this stack. Is Foden and Alvarez going to start every game? Probably not. But is Haaland going to start every game in the Prem? Probably. To be fair, yeah, probably does. But Man City have been trying two up front in pre-season a lot more. Alvarez up there with Haaland. Foden sort of in the next line of attack in that sort of midfield. And I think there's obviously going to with Phil Foden's passing ability, he's going to be finding Haaland and Alvarez if they're playing up, together, more often than not. So, you can just imagine the amount of assists Phil Foden's going to get this season if he's given the chance. And I think it's an interesting stack. It's an expensive one, obviously, due to mainly Haaland, obviously. But is it the most optimal thing in the world? Like, would Foden and Haaland alone be enough? And you just sort of don't play Alvarez just in case the risks are too much? Maybe. A Foden Haaland sort of just attacking stack on their own could be interesting, and you could then go and pick up an extra player. You could play Vinny in here. Obviously, this is all budget, dependent if you can afford these players. But, I think it's an interesting one if you add Alvarez into it. I think, as a player, he's absolutely exceptional. The amount of goals those two could score together and Foden in behind assisting them could be frightening. So I am really interested to see how that stack plays out next season. Right, I hope you enjoyed that under 23 stacking video. Let me know your thoughts on it. Let me know if there's any teams that I've missed. There's obviously going to be some that pop up over the season, which you just can't expect. But right now, this is the information I've got, and this is why I've made the video the way I have. So I hope you have enjoyed it, and if you did, please do leave it a like. If you are completely new to Sorare and you haven't yet signed up, there's a link in the description of this video that will get you 1 free limited card once you've purchased 5 from the new card auctions on Sorare. Hope you have a great day, lads. Hope you have a great game week, and I shall see you guys in the next video.